Welcome to the first webinar of the 2021 academic decathlon season. We have a lot to share with you tonight. My name is Cindy Hess, and I'm the national coordinator for the decathlon. For those of you that don't know me, I've been a part of the decathlon now for about 14 years when we moved to San Diego and my kids were asked to participate on their school's team. I went on to serve as a coach for several years, and because I fell in love with the decathlon and it's how it positively changes students and affects them, I went on to assist and then coordinate the local event in San Diego, and currently I'm serving as the national coordinator. So I work with the national subcommittee, and we're so glad that you're here today and ready to talk about the new virtual decathlon. Whether we would be able to offer a decathlon event this year was not an easy place to get to, but thanks to our tenacious subcommittee, here we are. Let's now turn our thoughts inward and ask our Heavenly Father to watch over us and guide us as we start on this decathlon journey, and thank Him for all of the blessings in our lives. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit, amen. God of wisdom, this task we undertake, called the United States Catholic Schools Academic Junior High Decathlon, is a mammoth one. Help us to always remember that everything we do, we can do because of your goodness, which works in and through us. May the decathlon be a source of individual and group pride, happiness, self-respect, and commitment. You have enlightened the minds of our young people, giving them an intellect with which to make positive decisions for a better world. May this event be a celebration of our minds and the power they hold. We give you glory for the gifts of knowledge and intelligence. May we use these gifts for your glory and always work toward the realization of the kingdom your Son sought to establish among us. We make this prayer in Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. All right, thank you again for taking the time to participate in today's webinar. Let's start out by going through a couple of quick housekeeping items. You probably all realize now that you are all muted and there is no video for you. The only people that you see are the presenters and members of the subcommittee. There should be a little Q&A box up in your bar. Please type questions here throughout the webinar. We'll be kind of compiling them and address them at the end of this webinar if we have time, or if we don't, we'll send out a message in Basecamp. The chat area is, if you could just use that more for informal comments or shout outs, okay? And we will also be populating the chat area with some links as we send out messages or want to communicate some messages. All right. I would also like to take a minute to thank our sponsors. We have 3 sponsors so far this year, and we've got the Studies Weekly at the partner level of $2,500. At the friend level of $1,000, we have Schools First Federal Credit Union and Fax Tuition Management with a donation of $250, and we thank them for supporting us. These are companies that work with many of the schools in our diocese, and we're very grateful for their support. We'll talk a little bit more about other sponsor opportunities. Now I'd like to turn things over to Julie Cantillon, who, like all of our subcommittee members, wears several hats. She's our group lead member of our academic national subcommittee, and she is the associate director in the Office for Schools with the Diocese of San Diego. Julie?
Great, thanks, Cindy. So we know this year is very challenging, but we also know that our students have more limited options, and especially in the area of extracurriculars. So our committee feels strongly that this event is more important than ever. And we are developing supports to make it hopefully a bit easier on the coaches, but also offering the same level of academic rigor and excellence that the AJHD is known for. And we believe this year we have a great opportunity to promote academic excellence, which is part of our mission. So we're looking forward to a wonderful year, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Julie. All right, let's move into, we're going to go through This presentation is divided into a couple of parts. The first things I want to go over are things that are new this year about the decathlon, and then we'll talk about the things that are staying the same. So new this year, while we've had an academic decathlon national subcommittee in the past, what's changing about this year is how we are centralizing responsibilities with this committee. So the committee was formed a couple of years ago. It reports to the CCSSCC, which I'll call the Curriculum Committee, which has jurisdiction over the decathlon. And the CCSSCC is made up of a representative from each of the dioceses in California. And then working their way up the chart, this group reports to the superintendents. So going back to the subcommittee, this group is made up of the 8 dioceses this year that were adamant about wanting the decathlon to continue. This group has been working very hard to ensure that we could offer students the decathlon experience that we've all come to know and love. We also realize that we need an event that is sustainable and able to support itself financially. So to make this happen, we need to operate more efficiently and optimize some of our processes. So I'll be sharing the ways that we're going to try to do that. So things will look a little bit different to you all this year, but I think in the long run, they run smoother and be able to continue the decathlon. All right, I'm going to show you, this is the group of our national subcommittee. Like I said, we've got all California dioceses except for the Archdiocese of Denver, as well as the Diocese of Raleigh, which we're happy to have participating. The other thing that's new this year is the fact that we are opening this virtual event to all Catholic schools in the United States. Because it's virtual, it really doesn't matter as much about where a school is located. So we're thrilled to be able to offer this to any Catholic school in the US. Students should be in grades 6, 7, or 8. We do allow schools to have teams with 5th graders on them, smaller schools or schools that are trying to build up a program. You know, that's fine. Schools may register more than one team. Schools can combine with another to form a complete team of 10, only if they don't have the minimum team members. Schools may register with less than 10 students. It'll be the same cost. So if you have a team, if you only have 8 students that are, you know, that want to be on the team, you can still register and just participate that way. All right. Also new this year, we've got a national website, which is in the process of being developed and populated. The main purpose of this website will be marketing, as a marketing tool. It's to provide information, of course, about it. But I still ask that all of you coaches that have coached before, please be a member of Basecamp, and new coaches, all coaches. This is my main method for how we communicate. And so we'll share that information about Basecamp if you're not already a member. All right. Okay, also new this year. So one of the things we're doing to try to make ourselves a little more efficient, we're going to have an online registration form, and there will just be one form for all schools. Our registration will open tomorrow, the 14th. And the way I'll communicate is I will be sending out a message in Basecamp. The registration link will also be on the website, but I'm not sure exactly when it will appear. Registration will stay open through December 1st. Registration includes this year participating in the regional hub event, which we used to call the local event. It includes participating in the national event for those that qualify, as well as medals. The cost this year is $250 per team of 10 students plus alternates. You'll have a chance or you'll have a choice to pay by check or by credit card. After you register in the online form, you'll receive an email with details about the payment options. A lot of effort was made to keep the costs as affordable as possible, but as you know, this event has to cover all of its costs. So the registration cost is roughly the average cost of what was charged to the participating dioceses from last year. So for some, the cost will be more, and others it will be less. If your school has a problem paying the registration fee, limited scholarships are available. Send an email to ajhdcentral@gmail.com. Include your contact info, your archdiocese name, school name, and whether you're requesting a full or partial scholarship. And just so you know, we will be asking for your team information in December once registration closes, because we'll be doing a team setup for this virtual event. So you ready for that? All right, the next topic new topic we're going to talk about is the fact that we're going virtual. And another member of our subcommittee, Donna Smith, who in addition to being the Decathlon coordinator for Fresno, is the assistant superintendent of Catholic schools for Fresno. And she's going to share with us how that effort is shaping up.
I always do that, sorry. Thank you, Cindy. So last year on March 6th, I was driving. I had actually just come from our high school that was going to host our event, and I received a phone call from our diocese saying that all events were canceled because of COVID. So we immediately had to contact all of our schools, and we had to postpone our decathlon. And so we, at that point in time, we thought, well, maybe it'll be 2 weeks, maybe it'll be a month. But we had promised the schools that we would have a decathlon no matter what. Well, as we moved further into March and into April, the reality is that we were not going to be able to gather in a large group, because we thought, well, maybe we would even do it during the summer months, but that was not going to be possible. So when I had a meeting with our coaches, they were very, very adamant about still wanting to have this event for students. Their students had planned and prepared and studied, and they felt like they had lost so much in the past months that they didn't want them to lose this opportunity, and particularly the 8th graders that were getting ready to graduate. And it was going to be their last chance to be in a decathlon. And so they threw out the idea of a virtual event. And at first, looking at it, it just seemed like a lot of work, but they all jumped in and they all took parts. We created the tests in Google Forms. We used Google spreadsheets, and we had a Google Classroom set up. All the students had email addresses, and we just organized things and chose a date, and then we had our event. And it wasn't without some little hiccups along the way, but all in all the students participated. They were very happy that they got to participate. And we had our award ceremony on the following day. They were able to have their families there in their living rooms. Everyone was cheering, and it was a nice event. So I have a little testimonial here from one of our principals that we're going to go ahead and share with you. Go ahead, Cindy.
Hi, my name is Kelly Gruska. I am the principal at St. Francis Parish School in Bakersfield, California, the Diocese of Fresno. As a school, we have been participating in the academic decathlon for almost 30 years. I was asked to share how our virtual competition evolved this past spring. With the rapid spread of the pandemic, the schools in our diocese were closed unexpectedly the day before our scheduled event. This in turn required the postponement of our competition while the rest of the state was able to meet. Our school was able to compete that day in a local academic competition. It had already been digitized for several years. The student challenges were created using Kahoot. This provided for immediate feedback and also engaged the audience in the experience. Scoring was immediate, and students knew throughout the competition where they stood in relation to others. This experience, combined with the pandemic, prompted us to start conversations with our diocese to digitize our academic decathlon. We knew the competition just had to happen. Students, parents, and teachers put countless hours into developing a strong sense of community among team members. A highly regarded experience, students begin thinking about this commitment in 5th grade. After months of preparation, you can only imagine the disappointment our students felt when their event was postponed. The possibility of a virtual competition provided the energy to keep our students and coaches moving forward with their studies. With the support and dedication of our Assistant Superintendent, Donna Smith, we set out to create a digital version for our diocese. The process was a combined effort of all of our schools to help develop the platforms necessary for the competition. In the end, we were able to utilize Google Classrooms, breakout rooms and Zoom meetings, Kahoot, Google Forms, and Sheets to redesign the way our test had been formatted for years. The end results were amazing and immediately catapulted us into the use of 21st century technology. How appropriate considering today's situation across the nation. Moving forward, I am confident that a virtual platform will allow Catholic schools to substantially expand our academic competition. Going virtual will reduce costs to schools and open the door for students from even the smallest parishes to join in this highly regarded event. Our rescheduled competition was a huge success, and I know that with the combined efforts of educators across the country, a virtual event will bring great exposure to Catholic education while allowing our young scholars the opportunity to compete at a level like never before. I know that my coaches stand behind this new platform and would be honored to be a part of any planning necessary to create a solid 2021 event. Thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences, and I will look forward to our virtual introduction in the future.
So what was really important for us was, in thinking about this virtual event for this year, was that we would have an opportunity for students across the country, big schools, small schools, to have something that they can work in and participate in as a team. Because as we all know, a lot of our students are not able to participate in sporting events and other extracurricular activities that they used to do on a regular basis. And so looking forward to this event, we are sure that we're going to have an event and that it'll be virtual. But we're not sure. I mean, we don't know what the environment will be like in March. If we're under strict restrictions, teams may, just like we did in the Diocese of Fresno, where students will be participating from their homes. If possible, if we can be together, they can be at their schools participating with their teams. But we know that we won't be able to get into large groups this coming March. So in order to participate, students will need to have their own device, and they will need to have a good internet connection, because everything will be over the internet. We also are revising the coach's handbook. Most everything is staying the same, but there are little things that we're having to tweak. For example, we have increased the minutes for the logic test to 60 minutes, just because it's a different platform, and the way the students are working virtually, that extra 10 minutes helps them kind of work through the newness in the platform. But most everything else is going to remain the same as far as points and the rules. There are some other additional rules that we have to have in place when we are virtual to ensure fidelity to the testing. And so we'll go over that as we get closer to the event. So some of the things that we might be using this year, we're definitely going to be using Google Classroom and Google products. The test creators are actually going to be making the test in the Google Forms for us this year, and then they'll be graded automatically. We're looking at using an app called Kami for the logic test, and we're looking at using Kahoot Live for the super quiz. So if anyone has any other ideas on other apps and things that might help us in this process, we would be open to that, and definitely send us a message, either an email or put a note in the coach's part of Basecamp. So there will be practice for online events available in January and February, so that students will be more comfortable with the format moving forward. And I think all of our students have gotten very comfortable with doing most everything online nowadays. So the way the event is going to be organized is first in regional hubs. And that will be, basically it's your Zoom hub where you're going to be competing. So hubs will be made up of 20 to 30 schools. And so if your archdiocese or diocese is 20 to 30 schools, then that would be your regional hub. If your diocese is smaller, 10 schools, 15 schools, you'll be combined with other schools just for the Zoom platform. Very large archdiocese like Los Angeles will most likely have more than one hub competing. And then we're going to have what we're going to call our independent league, which will be those small schools. So if there's a diocese and there's only one school that wants to participate or two schools, so really any diocese with 5 or fewer schools would be part of that independent league. And then that would be for the awards. So each diocese and archdiocese will have their own award structure. And then the small schools will be put in the independent league where they will get their awards. So we will be awarding first, second, and third place for Logic, for the individual events, and for the super quiz. And then the following, so the event is going to be on March 6th, and then on March 13th, the following Saturday, the schools that win their diocese or their archdiocese or the independent league will then be competing in the national competition on the following Saturday, that 13th. And so it will be run much the same way, but schools, it will be pretty immediately after our regional event. And we will also have winners from all the different sections participating in that one national event. For that national event, if your diocese, just like we did last year, or we didn't do it last year, we were going to do it last year, but we never had a full national event. So if you have a student that wins first place in an individual subject event, and they're not part of the winning team, your diocese will have the option to have that student compete in the individual subject event. So there will be more students competing in those individual subjects events, which will include the winning team from either the diocese, the archdiocese, or the independent league, and then those at each diocese or archdiocese level that received first place in that individual event. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Lori Power. She is the coordinator for the Diocese of Sacramento. She's on our national team, and she's also the Chief Academic Officer for the Diocese of Sacramento.
Hi, everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me. That doesn't matter. First of all, we just wanted to say thank you for saying yes, even to getting to this point by attending this webinar, just by wanting to learn more about it. We're really grateful that you're able to do that. So we wanted also to say that we know that whether you're a principal or a teacher or a parent, life has been a bit overwhelming. We get that. So we are really excited to tell you about all of the coaching supports that we are going to offer this year. We're pulling out all the stops. You're going to have coaching support like you've never had before. And we are really excited to be able to offer some particular webinars as well as resources. One thing we're going to show you, we're going to have an attachment that is a letter to your parents to ask for specific help. It's a template. You're welcome to use it, but it just graciously asks parents to help and to assist with the Decathlon team. In addition, we have many webinars that we are scheduling. There's one next week that actually quite a few of you have already signed up for. It's all about the resource list. We're going to have ed test creators, the creators of our tests, actually walk through all the resources with you and answer your questions. So that's going to be great help. And then some additional topics of webinars. We're going to have a Decathlon 101, and that's for new coaches or anyone interested in learning more of the basics. How to coach logic. I think I need to participate in that one. Anyhow, that'll be a great webinar. We're going to do a coaches roundtable. So we're going to ask some of our experienced coaches to participate in this and just give kind of best advice and share best practices. We're going to do some coach meetups, just talking about how you are interacting with your team during this COVID year, how you're celebrating your team, and just things like that. So if you have any specific ideas for webinars, go ahead and email at that ajhdcentral@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, we have the National Coach Base Camp, of course. So just a reminder, in the campfire, the whole base camp group will see. But if you have a specific question, go ahead and email at that AJHD Gmail site, because your specific question will then get answered. So we need your help to spread the news. As you've heard, we're taking this nationally. We are excited to be able to offer this to any Catholic school in the United States. We're just passionate about the decathlon. That's why the subcommittee is sticking together and just, pulling out the stops to make it happen. So there's a hashtag Catholic AJHD. If you want to put that on Facebook or your Instagram or your Twitter, that would be awesome. I know that Julie is actually tweeting about this webinar as we're going through this. And we'd love for you to be able to share your flyer with at least one other school. So any way you can share this news about this opportunity for students, we just know how beneficial it is for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to participate in this. And it's just such an incredible experience for them. So if you can do your part and help spread this news, we would be so grateful. So thank you. So at this time, I'm going to send it back to Donna Smith from the Diocese of Fresno.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
So sponsorships are an important part of what we do. They help us keep the costs down, and they enable us to provide scholarships for schools that this may be a financial burden for. So we invite you to reach out to anyone that you think might be able to sponsor. As you saw, we have 3 sponsors right now, and we're actively seeking more. Sponsors could be someone at your school that you do a lot of business with, maybe even you have families that have a business that would be willing to sponsor us at one of these levels. The donation level is $250, and you can see they get acknowledged when they get to be a friend. That's $1,000. There's a little bit more that comes with that. And the partner and the premier levels are the $5,000 and the $2,500 level. And those have exclusive rights. So we invite you. The forms will be in base camp. If you know of anyone that would like to sponsor this event, I know a lot of our families are very passionate about it, as we are, and they might be willing to help out so that we can get more schools involved in that National Academic Decathlon.
Thanks, Donna. And thank you, Lori. So a lot of new things this year. Now I'm going to move into some of the things that are staying the same, but that you still probably want to know a little bit more about. So one of the things that is staying the same this year is that we were fortunate enough to secure professional test services through Education Test Creators. They are the ones who produce the resource list, the study guides, what we're now calling regional hub tests, national tests, and they also provide us with an analysis of the test results. So the resource list, as we've mentioned, is coming out tomorrow. We've asked ETC, Education Test Creators, to make sure they've they've made efforts to ensure that the resources are available. But as you know, it's always best to purchase your resources sooner than later. And truthfully, you know, most of these are available electronically. And this year there is one resource, it's an individual subject resource that is only available electronically. And hopefully with the fact that there's been a lot of remote learning going on, you know, maybe that's a better solution for your team. The little spoiler alert at the bottom, this year's theme for the decathlon is teamwork, which I think is a relevant theme in these times especially, and a reminder that by working together we can accomplish great things, like being able to host the decathlon again this year. Another thing that's the same, and I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but all coaches, please register for the base camp. It's our primary communication method, and even though we will be getting the website up and you know, populated with content, this is an active way for me to be able to send messages out to you all. You know, when things come out, such as the resource list, or if there are, you know, if there's an important announcement, I can get it out. There is there's a registration link, and on the website, and I think Julie has been doing a great job of putting links in the chat box. But if you are not a member of the Coaches Base Camp, then you should join. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how to use a base camp with a large member base. So we currently have over 460 members on base camp, which is awesome. However, that being said, you know, we get a lot of communications going, and I don't want things to be to get lost. So let's just talk a little bit about base camp. I'm going to pull up the national coach base camp site, and just want to talk about the different areas. So there's a message board area. This is all of the messages that when I send you a message, most of you have your settings so that you do receive them and that you don't have to actively go look into base camp, which you can do, but I really recommend that you let it send you messages, at least during these initial times when we are sending out a lot of communications and updates. So this is where, so for example, this afternoon, I posted something that there is another webinar on next Tuesday. And so you should have all gotten an email about it, but the message also resides here in Basecamp for your viewing. There's another area that is called, so it was formerly called Campfire, which wasn't all that descriptive. So I went ahead and made a change. We're calling it, per suggestion, cues and chats. This is a coach's area. It's a way that you can just kind of post up a little message, a little chat message, or if you've got a question that you think might be relevant for the group, go ahead and put it out there. If it's something that needs an official response, I will take that question and put the question as well as a response up into the message board and send out a message to everybody. Okay, so you don't have to try to read through the chat, the cues and chats area. If there's something official that you need to know about with the response, I will put it in the message board. Okay, there's also a docs and files area, which is where I'll be loading, or we'll be loading all of the relevant links or flyers, you know, files that you need. And then the last area is the schedule. So we'll start calendaring events here, so you can see that there are already events that are being calendared. One thing about notifications, this is real small up in the corner here, but this is where you can look at information about your notification settings. So I'm just going to click on that real quick, and you can, it's not quite as flexible as I would like, but you can either have it notify you about everything or only notify you when someone sends you a ping or mentions you. really recommend, I would like you to, notify you about everything just so you know about things, but obviously that choice is up to you. And then you can tell it how you want the notifications, if you want them all rolled up or just at certain times of the day. Anyway, so that's the settings. There's one other area that I want to show you, maybe. Okay, let's go back into here. If you turn that on and you find that under this campfire area or chats, queues and chats, you can click on it. And if you click on the 3 dots, you can say stop notifying me. And what that will do is that will obviously turn off those notifications for the, kind of more chatter if you want less chatter. All right. So one other thing I want to point out up top at the bar here, pings. This is the way you would communicate with just an individual. So when I ask you to ping me individually, this is what I mean. So if, for example, I wanted to start a private, if I wanted to start a chat with Julie, see it's pulling up all the Julies. So I can click on who I want to chat with. All right. Okay, so that's just a few little tips that I wanted to show you about Basecamp, and please make sure you're a member. All right, let's move on. We've kind of gone through this, but tomorrow resource list comes out, study guides and online registration. That information will all be sent to you tomorrow in Basecamp. I will send a message out with either the link or the documents, and those documents and links will also reside in the docs and files section of Basecamp. All right. We've got another webinar next Tuesday. Registration is closing on December 1st. And as Donna mentioned, our regional hub event will be the first Saturday in March, which is March 6th. And lucky for all the students, all the winning students, the competition is the next weekend. We'll avoid or prevent them from having to study for an additional month. That used to be the time between our local event and our national event because of the fact that you had to either do some fundraising or make reservations. And one of the positives about the virtual environment is we don't have to do that. So we can hold the event shortly after the local event. Okay. We're doing really well on time, I think. So we'll take a little bit of time. I think Julie's been compiling some of the questions maybe that have come up that we can address. If anything is not answered, or if you think of something after, please email us at that email address, or you can ping me, which will just send it to me individually, and I will get back with you on Basecamp. If it's something you feel the whole group needs to see, like I say, put it in the queues and the chats for the coaches. All right, so.
Okay, so here are some questions. We've been busy over here. Can we get more information on the platform where you can purchase the materials? So people are wondering about the new platform, what's it called again? And we know it's not Teachers Pay Teachers. So could you describe a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so it's another online purchasing tool. It's a website, and I will have the link for you all tomorrow. You will purchase it very much the same way as you did on Teachers Pay Teachers, and you can pay by credit card and download the files. And if you have any questions with that, Ed Test Creators has provided their information on that website, and you can contact them directly.
Great, thanks, Cindy. And then a question about, will alternates compete in the super quiz as they did for Diocese of Fresno virtual event last year? Some of these questions we may need to talk about as a subcommittee, so I wasn't sure about that one.
Yeah, and I think that is something that we'll probably need to talk about. I think, you know, the idea is that we are trying to make this as similar to the in-person, or well, similar in a lot of ways to the in-person event, but I think that's certainly something that we can take into consideration. And, you know, Donna has just been amazing at kind of spearheading the effort, but obviously we have a lot of things to work through and try to, yeah, figure out. But you know, we definitely want to be transparent about it and share with you at least everything that we do know. So we will get back to you on that one. Good question.
Thank you, Cindy. A couple of questions too about one of the apps that Donna was describing, and it's just to clarify, it's called Kami, K-A-M-I.
Yeah.
A number of our schools have been using it as well, but again, we know there might be issues with specific apps. So the next few months though, our national subcommittee is really going to be digging in and exploring all of these apps, talking to our students, talking to our teachers, you know, just seeing what really works well for them, because we want to make sure we're not introducing too much new technology to them, but of course we also want to be using something that's reputable and so we can maintain the integrity of the competition.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we just wanted to share some of the names with you so that you knew that what we were thinking, but it was certainly not to scare you. And like Julie said, the intent, well, and Donna mentioned as well that, you know, we will have practices in January and February, and we'll probably have some webinars to make sure that everybody's as comfortable as possible. But of course, the students are still going to be nervous on that day because it's Decathlon Day.
Of course, part of the excitement. Cindy, another question too. Somebody's asking, can we find out who's registered from each archdiocese? And I think this question stems from, you know, not every diocesan office is necessarily participating, but we're welcoming schools from any diocese in the United States. So
yes.
At some point we'll be sharing, you know, a list, I'm assuming, of which dioceses have schools who are participating.
Yes, I guess it's my hope that we do create some type of list. And I know, you know, yeah, it is fun to know, and it's fun to see which other schools are already participating. And for those that aren't, maybe you can give them a little nudge and say, hey, why not? Come on, join us. So I think, I mean, with this, we'll discuss this with the subcommittee, but I would like to post kind of a list, you know, it'll probably be in Basecamp. And just list all of the schools that have registered to date.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then just a clarification, did I hear correctly that the final team list is due in December? Didn't sneak that one in.
I knew that would cause heartburn. I just wanted to put it out there that yes, we are going to be asking early. And I know most of us here were coaches at some point, and it is tricky, and we know that things change, but we are going to be asking you earlier. And the reason for that is there's a lot of things that we need to do in the background to set up. You know, we need to set up the Google Classroom environment, and, you know, Donna actually can speak to this. She's nodding, and she's like, yes, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. So, yes, the answer is yes.
So another question, sometimes the books ran out and were back ordered. Are the materials all digital or hard copies? And is this going to be an issue again this year?
Good question. I hope not. We, you know, we have asked the test writers every year. It's a little bit challenging. Publishers don't always share their information with us or with ed test creators because they do go out. Publishers also aren't publishing as many hard copies of books these days, as you're probably all well aware. Most of these are available electronically though, and I hope that for those schools that can use electronic to please do so, and to, you know, perhaps save those hard copies for those schools that need it. But I mean, that being said, an effort was made to make sure that there was, you know, the ability. So whether you go to the publisher to find it, or Amazon, or some bookstores, or eBay, There are a lot of sources, and if you can attend next Tuesday's webinar on where we're going to talk about the resource list, you know, that might, we can maybe share some other resources for you, to places to look, I should say.
Great, thanks, Cindy.
Could I just clarify something, Cindy? So I know that there was some angst about the team's final list being due in December, but we're also going to be asking for the alternates information also, because we want,
Yes,
if something
point.
changes in February, where you have to have an alternate take the place of one of your, you know, final team members, we'll have all that information already in our queue, so to speak, regarding Google Classroom or Kami accounts and things like that. So even though we're asking for a final list in December, if you need to make a change like in early February from one of your alternates, it's not a problem. So I don't want you freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, this is so early. How am I going to, you know, decide for sure? So
Good clarification. Thanks, Lori.
And then can you explain the selection for a national competition from the hubs? So how do we determine who's going to the national competition?
Okay. So we are still working through this conversation. And part of the reason that we're still working through it is we just don't truthfully have a good feel for how many schools will participate this year. So last year we had 10 dioceses that had local events. Okay, one had a virtual event. And actually Raleigh did not get to have their local competition, but we had 10 dioceses, okay? And we're hoping that of those 10 dioceses that there will still be plenty of schools that they will compete against each other, because that's a lot of the fun, is competing against schools in your diocese. So that being said, the competition as far as points and winning will be, you know, winners of your diocese or archdiocese. For those schools that are new this year and that are not part of one of the 10 dioceses that have participated in the past, they will be part of what we're calling an independent league. Now, depending on how big that independent league is, we will, there will be, you know, winners. So for example, if there are, say, 20 to 30 schools in the independent league, then the winner, the first place winner of that independent league, will get to move to nationals. However, if we have like an overwhelming, let's say we have 90 schools that are independent schools that that want to participate, what we will probably do is maybe divide them into like 3 different groups. So League 1, 2, and 3. And then from there, we will, each of those leagues 1, 2, and 3 will have a first place winner and get to send someone to the national competition. Now, LA folks, you might be thinking, geez, well, we hope you're a pretty big group this year. We hope you guys have at least 90 schools. So we'll do the same thing for LA, because historically, LA has been able to send more than one team to the national event because they are so large. So we will do that again. We're just a little unsure because, like I said, we just don't know how many schools are going to register. We're hoping a lot, and that's why we're asking you to register early, and we're cutting the registration, or you know, we're asking for the registration deadline of December 1st. And just so you all know, you'll go on to the form. You will not be asked to make a payment at that time. So go ahead and register if you are intending to have a team. Register your team. At the end of, once you complete the registration form, it will prompt you, or well, it will send you an email, and it will say, here are your payment options. You can either pay by check or you can pay by credit card. And at that point, we will send you a link that you can go and pay by credit card. If you pay by credit card, there will be the service fee, which I think we figured was about $7 or $7 or $8. So anyway, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, okay, so next one, somebody's asking, can we get training on the apps And I know we'll be having more webinars and more meetups and opportunities to share. We'll also make sure to curate some links with some helpful trainings on them and share them with you as well. Because we do expect that students, coaches, teachers, whomever are going to need time practicing with those before the actual event. So we'll have those available to share as soon as they're ready. All right, a question maybe for Donna. How did Fresno kids collaborate on logic without too much distraction to kids on working on different problems?
So last year they did it in Google Sheets, and they planned ahead of time. The students knew which questions that they were working on and who they were collaborating with. And then it all went, they gave their answers to whoever the captain was, and that's the sheet that was turned in. So it was a lot of pre-planning, and that's why we're hoping Cami, or maybe there's another app where they can all be working simultaneously and being able to actually write on the doc. Because as someone had said in the chat, you know, some of those logic questions, they're hard. You know, you actually have to go in there and you have to type in them, and some of them you have to work and draw and make marks on, and that's hard to do. So with Cami, you can do that. And so, but if anyone knows of anything else, we'd love to hear and love to research it. So we want to make it as easy as possible for students.
Also, a couple of things that have been coming up too, I see in both the chat box and Q&A. So LA, if there are 100 schools, we're trying to break it down so it's equitable. So, you know, every hub, you know, has a certain number of people. But if LA has like 100 schools, there may be 3 that are sent to national from that hub. Is that correct, Cindy? Oh, you're on mute, Cindy.
I knew I would do that. Yes, absolutely. So and yeah, I did see that comment come up that, yeah, so if, for example, there are 100 schools participating from LA this year, we may decide, and like I say, that's still up in talking with the subcommittee, but, you know, 25 to 30 schools, LA, you know, there might be LA Group 1, LA Group 2, LA Group 3, LA Group 4, if there are 100 schools, for example, which would mean that 4 schools from Los Angeles would get to compete nationally. And you're right. I mean, because 25 to 30 is kind of the upper end of where the sizes of our other dioceses that also only get to send 1 team to nationals.
Exactly. And then another question came up along the same train of thought, is that if they're the only school in a diocese, we're going to try to group them regionally. So that way, if they're, you know, both in the Southeast, they would be grouped regionally. So again, to try to place them in as close proximity as possible, so you can maintain that sort of local competition feel. Just clarifying, Cindy, that's correct, right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, and then Michael's asking, just to confirm, prizes are only for 1st through 3rd. And he also says, thank you for doing this. Thanks, Michael. And yes, prizes are for 1st through 3rd. Anything else on that, ladies?
No, you know, that is our plan now. I mean, I don't think it won't be any less than that. You know, based upon how things are looking and evolving. Like I said, our subcommittee still has a lot of work to do and a lot of things to kind of sort through with this new environment. So, you know, we may change things to be more favorable. We just tended to go a little bit more conservative with, for now, it's prizes in, you know, 1st through 3rd.
Yes. Great, thank you. And then Susan wants to know, Donna, did Fresno record their competition?
No, we did not record it.
Okay. Fortunately, Donna has a very good memory, so she's able to give you specific details if you'd like more information regarding the Fresno competition. But again, they pulled that together very quickly. We have the benefit of having some time to do it and really explore. So we'll be learning for sure from Donna and then expanding upon that. Gabriella just wants to confirm we have to purchase the study guides. The resource list will be shared tomorrow, right?
Correct.
And then study guides are for purchase.
Yes, they are optional, but they are for purchase. Yes.
And then another question, do you recommend we wait to purchase until the webinar next week? We would recommend they purchase them as soon as they can.
Yes.
Right. Are students able to work together on Super Quiz? How does the team work together? Donna, do you want to share?
So for the super quiz, we use Kahoot. And so the way that we set it up, because we didn't use the Kahoot Live, they were with their own school in a breakout room, and they completed the test there. And then I was able to get all of the team scores. So they weren't able to see live how they were doing in relationship to everyone else until the end of the event. But we're hoping that this year that we'll be able to use Kahoot Live so that anyone that's competing will actually be able to see the scores, to see how their school's answering compared to everyone else, what their running score is at all times, and who's leading in first, second, and third place.
Wonderful, thanks, Donna. Is writing going to be part of the competition? You shared that, Cindy?
Good question. Yes. The optional writing program, which we've had for the last several years, which for those of you that don't know, does not actually take place on the day of the event. It typically takes place a few weeks prior, and it is also not part of the score. But we are just, in light of all of the things that we have to try to get together, and as we're tweaking lots of different things and all of the different components that we need to work on, we decided that we're going to take a year off from the optional writing program. So, and hopefully we can maybe have it back next year.
Okay, wonderful. And I think we got to all the questions, either between typing or responding live. So good work, everyone. And then Cindy, any final question or final reminders about next year, about what we're thinking and how we need the support of everyone to continue?
Yeah, I guess I would just ask that, this was very, trying to get the event pulled off this year was very tenuous for a while, as I think all of the subcommittee members will attest to. And as you know, not all archdioceses were able to come back and support the subcommittee. So I think, though, that there's a big desire out there for this program, and I think it has a lot of potential. And but we truly need you all to make it happen. So I know we're making asks of you, but we know that you're all passionate about this, and by just doing a small part, if we each lift a small piece, like I said, we can do great things with teamwork. And so if do send ask for sponsorships if you think that that's something that you can help with. Try to find a way that you feel like you can help. Or, like I say, we're asking for different asks. We're hosting a lot of webinars. We'll probably be calling upon some coaches that are that are experienced coaches, or that can share valuable information. We're trying to do a lot of collaboration this year because we're all, like I forget who said, but we're all struggling this year. Life is very different than we planned. So anyway, Julie posted the flyer again and the Basecamp registration link. So thank you all, and I look forward to a huge and great decathlon this year, and I know our subcommittee does as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.